Join me this week as I show you how to make some cute cupcakes for your dolls to enjoy at their next tea party. Stay tuned and see how easy this project is. To make our cupcakes today, we are using this mold that I bought at the Seattle Dollhouse Miniature Show. This is made by Stuart Dollhouse Creations. Ruth makes all different kinds of silicone molds, and she's just starting to branch out into the 1/3 scale or 18-inch doll scale. This is actually a dual-purpose mold. This one can be cupcakes for our 18-inch dolls, or it can be those giant cupcake-shaped cakes for the dollhouse size. So this is going to be, it's really fun. I've played with this a little bit. The mold comes just like this, and it comes with this nice instruction sheet. Ruth shows you exactly how to use it. I will tell you, I'm going to do things slightly different than what Ruth tells you in the instructions because I played with it a little bit, and I like my way a little better personally because I like my cupcake a little different shape than she makes hers. I'll explain the difference as I get to it. Now, the beauty of these molds, they're a silicone mold. You can bake your clay right in it. If you only want to make one cupcake at a time, you can actually just leave it in here and bake it. I'm going to pop mine out and work with them a little bit more. So we need a ball of polymer clay that's conditioned. Conditioned simply means you've kneaded it and worked with it enough that it's nice and smooth. This one's a little dirty, but that's okay. And I have found that this size ball is about right. Just play with your mold. Push it down in your mold firmly, but not too hard. If you push too hard, your mold is going to kind of go to the side and you're going to get a funny shaped cupcake. Now I'm going to frost mine, so the little bits of glitter, I somehow managed to pick up glitter from my experimenting. Now, in Ruth's directions, she has you take a clay blade, a blade similar to this, and very carefully slice off the top of the cupcake and get a flat top that's even with the mold. I like my cupcakes for the dolls to be a little bit rounded on the top, just like I make my real ones. So I leave mine up about like that. And I take a toothbrush. This is a toothbrush I just use for polymer clay. And what I'm doing is I'm gently giving some texture, especially around the outside edge. Because around that outside edge, we'll see a little bit of cupcake. Now, like I said, you could bake in the mold, but I'm going to make more than one right now. I'm just going to pop it out and set it on my table. Now, this color of clay is Fimo Vanilla, and it makes a perfect white or vanilla cake. This piece is, it's also full of glitter. I have glitter all over my table, apparently. This is Primo Burnt Umber. It makes a good chocolate color. You could also use Fimo chocolate if you've got that. Now, for this one, same thing. I'm going to ignore the glitter that's on the top of my cupcake. Please do the same. It'll be covered by frosting later. Like I said, I've been experimenting. I've been playing with this mold for like 2 days, trying different things out. So I've got a nice texture, and I'm going to pop it out. Now, for this one, I am going to paint the cupcake wrappers, but I want to have the top of my cupcake look like it's been baked. So what I'm going to do is reach over here and get, this is my chalk that I use for everything else. I'm just using the yellow ochre one. I get a knife and just get a little bit of chalk dust off of here. If you're going to make it look like you've pulled the wrapper off your cupcake, you'll want to do the bottom. Like I said, I'm going to make my cupcake look like it has a wrapper later. So especially around this edge, where the top of the cupcake meets the sides, I want to brush it with just a little bit of this. chalk. There, now, as they say on Food Network, it's golden brown and delicious. So now I need to bake my polymer clay. I'm going to put it on a paper plate, which is how I almost always bake. And I'm going to put it into a 235-degree oven because Fimo takes a lower temperature than Primo. Because these are so thick, I will be baking them for 30 minutes. So after they have baked, they'll need to completely cool, and then we can go on to the next step. Alright, so now my next step is I want my cupcakes to look like they've got a paper wrapper on them. You don't have to. That's totally up to you. But I like the look of a paper wrapper. And I tried a couple of different things that didn't work too well, and then I decided to try just craft paint. I've had the best luck with the ceramic coat. I had a couple of colors. I'll show you my ones I've got done here in a little bit once we get to the next, so we get done with the next step. But later in the video I'll show you my others I've done. Some colors work better than others, and the secret I found is a flat cut, really stiff paintbrush. It really makes this a lot easier. You're not using very much paint, and you're just very carefully painting around, and it will probably take 2 coats. Most colors took me 2 coats. And have a wet wipe on hand, so if you get paint on your fingers, you won't be transferring it to all over your cupcake. Look at all the way around here. This brush has decided to have one hair sticking out of it. But I just like having them. I like my cupcakes to look like they've got the little paper wrappers on them. Now, to do the bottom, get your brush ready with some paint. And I like to use something to hold the cupcake still. That way I can paint the bottom. Now, obviously this chocolate will definitely need a second coat. I'm going to actually put the lid back on this and shake it again. That's better. Alright. First, before I go any further, this brush is giving me problems because it's got a couple of hairs here that are sticking out there. Now it's flat on the top again. This is just a cheap paintbrush. I tend to buy bags of cheap paintbrushes to use because I have a really bad habit when I'm doing videos of by the time I get everything else done, I forget to wash my brushes, so I've given up buying good brushes for working on videos. Alright, and again, try not to get paint all over where you want the cupcake to show cupcake. And I'm going to let this paint dry, which since this is craft paint, it won't take very long. When it's dry, I'll decide if I need a second coat. If I do, I'll go ahead and put the second coat on, and I'll come back when these are ready to go on to put in some frosting and decoration on them. Alright, so the paint is now dry, and I think they look really cute. So now it's time to decorate our cupcakes. I'm going to show you first some of the ones I've already done. My frosting and stuff is almost dry. Here's one I did that's got just like white frosting with a little drizzle. I'll take photos of these too. This one's got a little, like a strawberry or cherry drizzle with the white frosting. I did sprinkles. Then I did some coloring of frosting. I decided just experimenting. I made a pink frosting with some little sprinkles and pink frosting with like sugar. I'll show you what all these things are done with in just a moment. Tried some purple frosting. It came out a little too dark. I'll talk to you about that in a moment. And I just put some sand on it for sugar. You can use, oh, we'll get to that in a minute. And then some other sprinkles on some pink frosting. And I tried 2 different times to make some chocolate frosting. I think this one turned out pretty good. This one's a little too light. It was supposed to be like a milk chocolate. All right, there's a lot of things you can use for frosting. And in fact, Ruth at Seattle Dollhouse Creations has a frosting kit. You can buy that and use that. And I've used it before. It works really well. I decided I wanted to use my favorite frosting. And that, let me get all these in their little box. And that is acrylic latex caulk. Be sure you get the paintable kind if you think you might want to color it. I love this. It's easy to use. You can either spread it out and mix paint with it. In the past, I've used just acrylic craft paint. I had the idea the other day. I got an inexpensive package of acrylic tube paints. And I used those to color these. And they worked really well. It just takes just the tiniest amount of paint to color your caulking. And by using this, you don't thin it down. Sometimes if you use craft paint, by the time you get enough paint in there, you've messed up the texture of the caulk and it doesn't work as well. You can use caulking in many ways. Like I said, you can spread, for the colored ones, I spread it out on my tile and I just use a craft stick to mix in the paint colors. Or another fun thing is you can take these decorating tubes like we used to do real cakes. And where's my tape? Ah, tape. I'm going to use the plain one this time. I haven't used this one very much. I've got 2 different sizes of star tip. I used, to make this size top, I used this tip, which is a size 21 Wilton cake decorating tip. I decided to get a smooth one. This is a number 5. So all you need to do is get some tape. And I like to use like this mailing tape, or sometimes it's called box tape. Trying to make sure I don't lose my end of my tape. I don't have this put onto my tape gun yet. Alright, so I've cut the end of my tube open. Just cut the tip off. Put this on the end. And use tape to hold it on nice and secure. Now you can just squeeze out your stuff and it will come out just like it would out of a frosting. So let's see how this works. I think I should have gone with the next bigger size, but this one will work just fine. That's really off center, but that's okay. It's okay. It will take a while for that to dry. So I'm going to put some on here and then we'll decorate. But there's all kinds of cupcake decorating ideas online. And you can do any of those with your miniature cupcakes. The dolls can have any kind of decorated cupcake that you want to give them. Now, we can put sprinkles, we can put sugar. Sugar is either sand, which doesn't work as well, or glitter. And I've got a whole bag of colored glitters here. Let's see. Let's put some of this pretty red glitter. It works best if you get the extra fine glitters, but any glitter will work. So let's put just a, and you just want just a tiny bit. What I like to do is put a little bit in my hand. Then I'll put that off the side and fasten it shut. and just sprinkle just a little bit over. There. Another thing that you can use are these little micro beads. I have Martha Stewart ones. Sometimes they're called tiny marbles or micro marbles, no hole beads. There's all kinds of names for these. Basically what you're looking for are these little, they're like little marbles, but they're really, really tiny. And see, they're really small. And you can just sprinkle these right over the top and have little sprinkles. Another way to make little sprinkles is you can use a little tiny hole punch. I used a 16th inch hole punch and made just little pieces of paper. I've also done this for Valentine's Day and done little tiny hearts. So those are just a few of the ways that you can decorate. To do the little chocolate and strawberry swirls, I use the Scribbles 3D fabric paints. Those make really neat little little syrup swirls like on here. But those are just a few ideas on how you can decorate the cupcakes you make for your dolls. Alright, so I think you can see there are so many ways that you can decorate cupcakes for your dolls to have. I'd love to see what you do. If you make some cupcakes, post a picture on the Facebook page or drop me a line and send me the picture through email. I'd love to see yours. If you decide to buy the cupcake mold from Ruth, let her know you saw the video and that's why you're coming to see her. I will have a link for this in the blog post, so be sure and jump over to the blog and check that out and come again next week and see what we make for the dolls then.